Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Pile It On. I am one of your hosts, Steve Clark, and to my left on the screen is Joel Walkowski. What's up, Joel?
Hey Steve, how are you? I am Joel Walkowski, half of the fabulous football boys, coming to you at Pile It On via the Props Network. Thanks to everyone for listening, sharing. I know a few of us got at us on Twitter. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Right. We have a Twitter now. We're up to 7 followers.
Okay, so let's make it 10 by the end of this
week. Let's make it 10, yeah. Next time we record this podcast, we need to have double-digit followers. That's the goal. We're at Pile It On Podcast. If you wanna follow us, we post clips from the show. We might post some football musings in the future. Let's get to 10.
Yeah, 10 would be perfect. I'll text my mom, dad, and sister after this, so it's feeling like a pretty safe bet. But, reward us, because we're doing the Herculean task of starting an NFL podcast when there's no NFL. Can we just get a little bit of credit for that? We're giving you a little bit of football, we're giving you a little bit of comedy, and a little trash talk, though. No trash talk that we do is going to compete with the trash talk I saw from the city of Kansas City. So I'm here. I'm slowly working my quarantine.
You're in Kansas City now.
I'm in Kansas City, beautiful town, Missouri, not Kansas.
That's okay.
No.
Yep.
Kansas City, Kansas, it's a slum. Kansas City, Missouri, San Francisco of the Midwest. What a town. Rolling hills, lovely estates, and there's billboards all over town that just hit me deep in my core. All they say is, our quarterback is better than yours.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument for that. And, it's the humblest way for Kansas City residents to, throw their generational talent in visitors' faces. Although, they're right, we probably shouldn't be visiting.
Weird. That's like a weird, aggressive, mean thing to say to people who are coming into your town.
Yeah, but you know what? There isn't an argument against it.
It is pretty much the closest thing to an absolute fact you can have with a sports take is that he is the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, we have the greatest current American athlete. You do not. Welcome to Kansas City. We've got Pat Mahomes and barbecue. Although the music scene is lacking, I'm saying with some good Kansas City residents, I asked him, what's the biggest band from Kansas City? And the answer was Puddle of Mud.
No way. That's shocking.
Yeah, I know it's like a blues scene, but right. They named 10 bands. That was the only one I'd heard of. So, they might have the best quarterback, but any other city in America put up a billboard, our music scene is better than yours. Kansas City.
We are in the middle of this pandemic. It's hard to figure out what to do. The NFL is the only thing with any news, and some of the news is sad. There's been quite a few ex-NFL players that have passed away in the last week. A lot of guys in their 70s and 80s, and I know someone from Detroit.
Yeah, not an NFL guy, but probably the greatest Detroit Tiger of all time. Al Kaline passed away. 3,000 hits. 399 home runs, which is honestly a pretty cool flex.
It's like, I don't need it.
Yeah, and if you go back, he's like a modern baseball player he played for 20 years. And my dad grew up with them. All the Michigan dads are so sad right now. So I just wanted to give a tip of the cap to Mr. Tiger. Watch some of his highlights on YouTube. He was pretty much like one of the greatest fielding outfielders of all time. So Detroit mourns, and just wanted to give a shout out to him.
For sure. Man, it sucks. Everything sucks. But for right now, we can try to take people's minds off of it by talking about all this great NFL news that has come up in the last week, which is, we're kind of stretching here for some of this news. I guess
you see the NFL itself is also stretching. We'll get into it later, but they're like, here's this all-decade team.
And they hosted a NFL players Madden tournament.
Yeah, the NFL is giving us stuff to argue about without realizing we're both quarantined with our girlfriends. Believe me, we're there.
Yes. So Derwin James actually won the NFL Players Madden tournament. He beat Tyreek Hill 52-3.
Which is usually a score that Tyreek Hill is on the other side of. Honestly,
Yeah.
the closer we get to the season, the more bullish we are to the Los Angeles Chargers on their bounce back. And this is going to be the year of Derwin James. And this is him just getting it started a little bit early. He didn't get to play much last season. Probably one of the best pure defenders in the league. So the comeback starts now. Madden, art imitates life. Bet the over on their season. You love to see it. And you know what? One of our listeners, what up, Rich Kingston, runs some great NFL pools if anyone wants to get in. He talked to us about switching his teams. And honestly, I think it's time I formally adopt the Chargers as my AFC team. Back in 1994, I picked the Chargers for 49ers Super Bowl before the season, went as Junior Seau for Halloween. I, for some reason, wore an alien Halloween mask. So, hey, you're saying, Joel, why are you suddenly a fan of both the Lions and the Chargers? The Chargers are the easiest team to adopt because they have no fans.
Yeah.
Any fans they got, they quit on them. So I'm taking them as my number 2 team. I'm solidifying them in that spot.
Wow.
And while we're here, let's add the Dallas Mavericks next to the Detroit Pistons as a Western Conference team.
Very good. So if I'm a fan of an NFC team, I have to pick an AFC team. I can't go with another NFC team.
Yeah, but you have to pick a team where the stock is a little bit low.
Okay. I think I would go with the Dolphins.
Okay, that's
fun
fair.
Team. They're on the up and up. They're from Florida, which is also where I'm from. I'm not going to pick the Jaguars, that's for sure. Dolphins are the better choice there.
Yeah, and Dolphins have a good coach. They have good colors, and they're one of the teams with like the strongest fan bases. But they haven't been good in 15 years.
Exactly.
It was the worst when they were good in the late 90s. Like those Jay Fiedler teams were my least favorite NFL teams of all time. How did they go 9-7?
Speaking of Madden, which we were about 3 minutes ago, you can do DFS lineups on DraftKings on simulated Madden games.
Okay, so I imagine the Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, any running quarterback is just an automatic win there. Am I
absolutely
correct?
You'd think so. So the ones that I've seen, I watched the Falcons Seahawks last night, simulated game. I won 50 cents because I came in 2,600th place.
What was that lineup like, Steve?
I think I had Julio. So they have a weird thing where you pick a flex player that gets you 1.5 points, 1.5 times the points. So they get you bonus points. And then you pick 4 players regardless of position. And you have a budget, obviously. So I had Julio. I think I had both quarterbacks, maybe like a Chris Carson, and then maybe like a Jason Myers as the kicker. Something like that.
And who came out on top in that matchup?
So I don't remember who actually won. I only watched the first half. It's not super exciting.
If you're going to watch one half, pick the other half.
I watched the second half of the Lions-Cardinals game, which was a couple of days ago. The Lions squeaked out a win, 17-14.
Yeah, and if this was at all realistic, Matt Patricia would give up a second-half lead. So I doubt the Madden artificial intelligence on that one. Even computer cornerbacks have to be fatigued from playing man-to-man an entire game.
So if you're out there and you want your fix of football, go on DraftKings, pick a DFS lineup. There's 6-minute quarters. You can have 5 entries. They're completely free. The entries are free. You can win 50 cents even if you come in 2,600th place like I did.
And are a lot of people playing or?
Oh, yeah. So the Vikings-Eagles game on Sunday had 170,000 entries, which is insane. I don't even know if regular NFL games get that many entries during the regular season. I think people are so hungry for this that they're willing to. And it's free, so you might as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if you've got time to kill like we all do, when you're done watching or listening to your favorite new comedy football podcast, play a little DraftKings. And when your girlfriend, your significant other asks you, "Hey, what are you doing?" Tell them it's sadder than you think.
It is. So the NFL draft is going to happen. It is continuing. They're deciding to do it all virtually, which is great. We need something right now, but a lot of GMs and coaches and personnel from these teams are concerned that people from other organizations, maybe they're speaking specifically about the Patriots, are going to hack into their Zoom calls during the draft and gain information on what they're talking about, who's on their big board and stuff like that.
And this kind of goes back to how the NFL draft worked prior to it first being put on television in 1985. And you could tell these GMs are nervous. They're asking the NFL for timeouts, for technical glitches.
Yeah.
And then, I am a little bit worried about some of these older GMs. Like I saw John Dorsey on Hard Knocks. I don't know how he's going to be able to handle these interfaces. It could really mess him up.
Oh.
Well,
who's this?
What are you looking for, Kevin Stefanski?
Yeah, what? Who are you?
How did you get into our call?
You're here on
Andrew Barry?
You're here on the Props Network Pilot on NFL podcast, and you're looking for the coach of the Browns?
Yeah, I've been trying to get into the draft room of every NFL team. Well, mostly the Browns, so I can move them up, and so they can pick first overall.
What? Oh, are you a Browns fan?
Who are you? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Die hard. Let's go.
I feel bad. I won't press charges for you sneaking into my Zoom meeting, but this is an NFL front office. Why would you try and sneak in and take over their draft picks?
You ever heard of Dr. Johnny Manziel?
Yeah, he's a doctor of football.
See? Yeah, you're right. He's a doctor of nothing. All right? He's out of here. He's terrible.
You guys have
Justin
Baker
Gilbert,
Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, a lot of teams, they'll want a franchise quarterback who can do push-ups. The Browns wisely went the other way.
Have you seen his Instagram?
Yeah.
He is shredded. He looks sexy.
So what's going on? You don't trust that the Browns are going to make the right choice, so you're trying to get into their draft room right now?
Yep, I'm just trying to make sure that they don't be idiots and make sure to get that left tackle and Isaiah Simmons. So we're going to trade.
You're going to try to trade up and get Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, I'm just going to trade up here. Let me see.
What do you do? What could you possibly be
Andrew
doing?
Barry, and
hey, make me an offer.
Black people are all the same, so it's perfect.
I mean, Matt. I love the Lions. I'm sure Matt Patricia's Zoom isn't hard to hack into. I'm sure his password has the word food in it, so we can make a deal for 3 right now.
Yeah,
guys, neither of you have the power to do what you're talking about.
Have you not seen The Net? Of course we have the power. One of the greatest documentaries of all time.
So it's food. He's got something food. What food do you think he likes? Because that's how you have to break it down.
Oh, he's a spaghetti and meatballs kind of guy. Name ends in a vowel. That's my answer.
Meatballs. Okay. All right.
What are you going to do with this information? Even if you got into the Browns Zoom call, what do you think? They're not going to recognize you. What do you think they're going to do with you in there? Why are we even allowing you to talk right now? How did you get in here?
Because I have a Zoom Pro account. You can do anything. It's like a VIP award.
You pay for your Zoom?
Yeah.
And honestly, if we know anything about the Browns, we know Jimmy Haslam isn't going for Zoom Pro.
No, that's not really true.
I already have his password. It's Tennessee 68, and it's you're not even go 69. What's going on here? But Roger Goodell's email password is I love Josh Gordon 420.
I didn't know that. Well, you have all sorts of good information there.
Yeah, I shouldn't be giving it to you guys. You guys do not look like you're hacking too well. So
honestly, is this going to be hard for you when you hack in, successfully fix the draft, and don't get recognized as NFL Executive of the Year? Because it seems like you got some good ideas.
Well, I mean, if I can just play behind the scenes puppet master and I could see the Browns get to the Super Bowl, hey, I'll take it. And I'll just brag when I have everyone's email address.
Yeah.
I think this might actually work. Especially with an organization like the Browns, this kind of thing might actually work.
Right. You remember our owner picked Johnny Manziel because a hobo said do it. So a guy that can hack in, a person that can hack in, that quarterback is toast. It is easy.
Yeah. Hacker over hobo all the time, not just in the dictionary.
That's what my mom said. So.
Well, congratulations. We can't let you hijack the show, so we're going to unplug the modem. But I wish you the best of luck. And, hey, if you give me that Lions login, let's make a deal for 3.
All right. Hey, just give me your email password. And
oh, my gosh. All right, we're going to let you go now. This is getting out of hand.
Okay.
Goodbye, mysterious
Isaiah.
hacker.
Wow.
What? How serendipitous that he would hack us while we talked about that exact news story.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the world has a way of just giving us the most exciting narrative, whether it's coronavirus hitting New York City or the hacker coming to pile it on football podcasts.
Unbelievable. Here's something that happened with Lamar. He tweeted out saying that Michael Vick is a definite first ballot Hall of Famer.
And I have to agree with him because the Hall of Fame.
Whoa, okay. Yes, continue.
The Hall of Fame is about players who have not just a significant impact on wins and losses, but Michael Vick has more of a cultural impact on the way the quarterback position is played than anyone in the first 30 years. Okay. Every highly picked quarterback, Lamar in particular, owes a service to Michael Vick for just opening the eyes of NFL management to weaponizing the quarterback position.
Yeah. I mean, he was a game changer. I will agree with you there. But does the Hall of Fame look at players who have changed the game in that way when they look at inducting people into the Hall of Fame? I feel like it'd be a little unprecedented just to induct him because of the fact that he was a one-of-a-kind talent.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of like the stats have too much weight to it because Warren Moon, who was one of my first favorite players, he's in the Hall of Fame. And really, who had a more significant career? Michael Vick has a playoff win in Lambeau. He has the greatest single half season that anyone's ever had.
Yep. And
he was a phenomenon. And, I'd love to see guys like Michael Vick and Randall Cunningham, who I don't think is in there, being in over kind of these stat padding quarterbacks.
I agree.
And because if we continue on that trajectory, any quarterback will be in there.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like, is Eli going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback
because
he played so long and won 2 Super Bowls? It's
100%.
And who was actually the better quarterback?
Michael Vick
was the better quarterback. It's Hall of Fame's a weird thing. We're going to talk about the All-Decade team later. That's also a weird thing. But I pulled up Michael Vick's stats because I was really curious to see how close he actually is. One of the biggest things that jumped out to me is that he only played 16 games once in his career. He only played a full season.
That's a big blow.
Once. Big blow. He only had 133 career passing touchdowns, which is like a 4-year stretch for a Drew Brees or a Patrick Mahomes. He only had 22,000 career passing yards, but obviously what made him exciting was his rushing ability. So on the ground, he had 6,100 yards rushing in his career and 36 rushing touchdowns, which is amazing. But it's not enough to make up for the kind of mediocre passing totals that he had.
So he's a flawed player who changed the way his position is played. And on the converse note, let's look at the Basketball Hall of Fame. Does Tracy McGrady warrant a first ballot induction? I would say yes. Tracy McGrady is the Michael Vick of basketball, vice versa. They hit around the same time.
Yeah.
They were just absolute phenoms who just did things differently than anyone else had ever done them.
That's true.
And, the Hall of Fames, they're not this, bar for entry. They're supposed to keep track of who was significant to a game's evolution and changing.
I mean, I think that something of Michael Vick's belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he deserves his own bust in the Hall of Fame, if that makes sense.
I imagine he's got his shoes in there. The NFL Hall of Fame is great. It's a wonderful way to spend a day. They've got all the Super Bowl rings. There's nice little displays for every player, and he is recognized, but I think his career deserves that feather in the cap.
The other thing to think about is if he hadn't been absent for those 2 years for doing the dogfighting.
Yeah, we're probably looking at 149 career passing touchdowns.
And if in one of those years when he wasn't playing, he won a Super Bowl, because that's when the Falcons offense really started to pop off with Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez and all them. So if he has a Super Bowl and he's not a dog fighter, I think he is in the Hall of Fame. But He's neither of those things. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm just going to maybe not first ballot. You've convinced me of that, but I still say he belongs in there. It might take until the Veterans Committee gets a crack at him.
Okay.
And this is also just like smart empire building from Lamar Jackson. The more people value Michael Vick, the more they're going to value Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's trying to pave the way for his own Hall of Fame entry in 20 years.
Yeah, give us 7 more years like that, Lamar. You're in.
Yeah. This is a weird story. Rex Ryan called Amari Cooper a turd.
Yeah, and was there any – I'm looking for the provocation of this.
I think what happened was that he thinks Amari Cooper got overpaid. And what his way of expressing that was by saying they overpaid for Amari Cooper. He doesn't show up in games. He's a turd.
And I would argue that Amari Cooper, I think I've talked about this on one of our free agency podcasts, was my favorite receiver to watch in football last year.
He was great last year.
He has a mastery of possession receiving, and he's not a flashy specimen like, say, a Julio Jones or a Mike Evans, but in terms of running an effective offense, like, he's an ideal WR1.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was ESPN is trying to, like, they thought it was cool, so they pushed it out. They
promoted it. Yeah.
They're like, check this out.
And now Rex Ryan's like going back and saying sorry.
Yeah, and Rex Ryan coached so many worse players than Amari Cooper. Like, Amari Cooper played under Nick Saban. He has no suspensions, arrests.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy, but he seems like he's doing his part by being an upstanding individual to acknowledge the privilege of playing in the NFL.
Yeah,
if you're saying that about Tyreek Hill,
right,
go ahead.
Yeah, right. No one would have that big of a reaction if you called Tyreek Hill a turd. But yeah, Amari Cooper, I don't think is warranted that at all. It's also just a weird thing for an adult man to call another adult man.
Yeah, a turd. Because turd, I always thought it implied small, too.
Like a small poop, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at Amari Cooper, he's got ideal size. 6'1", 201 10 pounds. That's not a turd. That's a log, Rex.
Get it together, Rex.
I don't know. Maybe Amari Cooper said something incendiary about the foot fetish community. Yeah. We don't know what happens. Everyone's got a lot of time to kill in quarantine.
Yeah,
so
true.
Maybe Amari Cooper has been kink-shaming Rex behind the scenes. Apart from that, I see no excuse for it.
I agree. All right, Harrison Butker. Did you see this video of him kicking a 77-yard field goal?
I did. Congratulations, Harrison.
Congrats, Harrison.
And kickers are incredible. I think we're both pretty upstanding young guys. We're getting married. I think we'll probably both start families. And I can think of no better way to raise a child than for them to be a kicker.
Oh, that would rule.
Yeah, and then you get to you spend their childhood strengthening their legs, having them play soccer, putting them in pressure situations.
So, Joel, I have a question for you. I have a prop for you to bet on. Ready?
Let's go.
Over under. What do you think the furthest field goal I've ever made is? We'll set the over under at 47 yards.
Under. Hard under. I would take under at 33.
Whoa. I've kicked a 52-yard field goal before.
What?
So I played soccer.
What are you doing hosting a podcast?
I played soccer for like 20 years of my life. So that's.
Oh.
I played college soccer.
Dang.
You didn't have enough info to make the right call on that one.
Hey, you got the little ego stroke. So
yeah, baby.
How was the kick? Did you have room to spare or?
Well, here's the thing. If I was wearing pads and if there was a defensive line trying to block it, I certainly could not kick a 50-yard field goal. But, just me out in an open field with a little wind behind my back, taking 3 steps. Yeah, I can hit it from 50 with a little bit of room to spare.
That's incredible. That's honestly, I know I've seen you hit some threes and pick up basketball, but that's the most athletic thing I've heard in a while. 52 yards?
Yeah, that was in high school. I made a 52-yarder just for fun. I have so many regrets in my life.
Yeah, if I was your dad, you would have been a kicker from birth. Like, you did all the training. You just didn't go to the right college for the right thing.
I focused more on soccer than I did on any other sport. Meanwhile, soccer is the sport that you get paid the least to play when you're an adult. I didn't even go pro in soccer. If I could have just been a kicker.
And I know you guys are either looking at Steve behind a desk or listening to him in your earbuds, but he does have enough size to make a special teams tackle. Yeah. Like, he's probably around 6'1", 200 pounds. So, yeah, you should have been a kicker.
Should have been a kicker. I really.
Is it too late? Like, Morton Anderson kicked till he was 46.
I know. If I spent the next 2 years just practicing kicking, maybe I could get a tryout.
I mean, that'd be a fun thing to do for a pod. If we find like a little like semi-pro league, let's get you a kicking tryout. That would be great.
Yeah, I'd love that. I've never done it in pads though. I have no idea if that would totally mess me up.
You probably just don't wear the hip pads. You're fine.
Yeah.
Those are the only things that would actually restrict a kicker. And like,
it's true.
You know, you're fine.
Whatever. I'm fine. I'll drill any kick. Did you see the Bills cornerback Levi Wallace posted his personal cell phone number online so that Bills fans and other people from the community can chat with him if they need emotional support through the pandemic?
Yeah, and you know, this is something you're only going to see for Bills Mafia. Wallace said he wanted to check in on Bills Mafia. Everyone's going through the same thing I am, sitting at home. I just thought people need to be encouraged. And this is a great story. Not that he gave out his phone number, is the fact that he's returned 500 of the 750 calls he's gotten.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Good for him. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's truly a nice gesture. It's a way to connect with the fan base, and like, this is the right fan base to do it. It doesn't take much to be embraced by Buffalo
Bills.
Yeah. They made Doug Flutie an icon, and all he gave him was a knockoff cereal. Levi Wallace is giving them his personal cell phone number. People are going to be wearing that jersey as they crash through the tables outside Ralph Wilson Stadium. You love to see it.
You love to see it. And a guy who I personally have never even heard of, and now I know who he is, and I'm cheering for him.
Yeah, I'm like, I think a lot of NFL fan bases, they get made fun of, but I think the Bills having like a unique culture and togetherness of their fans, like, is a pretty cool thing. And it's nice to see the players feeding into that.
Totally. Speaking of, well, I don't even know what this is. You showed me this. It's the Jameis Winston video of him with the doctor. I guess they created a hotline for people to call for coronavirus information.
Yeah, and like, you could tell Jameis probably saw the Levi Wallace thing and thought that he could adapt it and make it more use. So Jameis Winston teamed up with Dr. Scott Kelly, who he just addresses as a great friend, and they have a toll-free number, 1-888-TEST-COVID, which is 9 digits.
so many numbers.
And you can have all your questions and concerns answered from the safety of your own home. I mean, I know no one's calling, and it's nice as someone who's trying to apply for New York unemployment still.
Yeah.
There's a number out there where someone will answer.
Yeah, that is nice. It's just so bizarre that Jameis is attached to this. If there's one person I have just absolutely no faith in knowing anything about the situation, it is Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and I want to know the relationship between him and the doctor.
Yeah, how did they meet
each other?
Yeah.
And the doctor, I don't know. It does advertise drscottkelly.com, which I'm going to pull up right now.
This has got to be great for his business. I'm assuming he's a Florida-based doctor.
Let's see here. You know what? I put in the wrong one. It's a picture of, it's a free COVID-19 digital screening sponsored by Jameis Winston and Dr. Scott Kelly. There's no way this is a real doctor. The news story should be Jameis Winston hires actor for bullshit. Honestly, in the annals of Jameis Winston stories, this one might take the cake.
This is a pretty crazy Jameis story. He also got married last week.
And what are you doing setting up a hotline?
Yeah, why you have too much stuff going on, Jameis? Find a football team to play for next year. Stop doing all this other crazy stuff.
People are questioning your focus, and it is actually kind of a good idea that he has a doctor in his pocket right now, because the reason all these marquee free agents are still unsigned is that no one can get a physical on them. Like Cam Newton would have been signed 2 weeks ago if someone could put him on a training table.
Yeah.
I think Jameis, he rolls up to the physical with his own guy, probably to Pittsburgh, because even Bill Cowher is making that happen. He's like, our team doctor is going to examine you. And he's like, nah.
I got my own.
I got Dr. Scott Kelly. Is he a team doctor? I was like, pull up the website. Because when you go to the website, and I encourage all of our listeners to pull up the website, drscottkelly.com. The picture is great. He has a mask on.
I want to talk about how Jameis got married last week, because right now is the worst time to be planning or having weddings. When is your wedding supposed to be?
I got time. Well, there is some bad news with the wedding. I'm getting married in October 2021.
Oh, you're good then.
But unfortunately, my fiance scheduled it in Arizona on a Sunday.
Oh.
So there's a good chance it's going to conflict with the Detroit Lions game, and I'm already focused on ways for that not to happen. I've at least tracked every Lions game in my adult life.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had to like, when it gets to be like, I didn't really make an appointment to watch Packers in week 17.
Sure.
I only watched part of us playing Buffalo last year, but I don't miss Lions games.
Right.
Like,
especially that early in the year. That's like week 5.
Yeah, and they're my first commitments. And, like, I would lobby the league office to give us a bye that week, but that puts us at a disadvantage. So I'm really damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Just have a morning wedding. I guess it's in Arizona, so have an evening wedding.
Yeah, I'm going to have to wait and see what the schedule holds. If we get a Sunday night game for some reason, because we are going to ride our last place schedule to 11-5, and we're going to win a week NFC North, and Matt Patricia is going to get 5 more years as Detroit's coach, and then they're going to be on Sunday Night Football, and I will be forced to get a divorce before the end of this reception. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And
sorry to hear that.
And your wedding's pretty soon. Is it all right?
My wedding is in July, and it's definitely postponed. We don't have a new date for it yet. We just sent out the texts and we called people yesterday telling them the wedding's not happening. So if you buy your flights already, make sure to get refunds. So we're figuring that out. It's a disaster. You guys made a good call by scheduling it for 2021. Good foresight on your part, knowing there would be a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic happening this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you going to do? Are you going to do the Jameis? Just you, some family friends, Dr. Scott Kelly?
No, I think we'll probably wait until summer 2021.
Okay, good call.
Or we might just cancel it and keep the money we were going to spend on a wedding, because who knows if we'll get jobs again in the next 6 months. So
yeah.
Who knows? I mean, we don't really have a plan right now, but we're definitely not having it in July. Don't want to kill my grandmas just to come to a wedding.
And then that's privilege, you know. Steve, he used grandmas in the plural, so you could tell the Clark family's got some good genes.
Yeah. Those women live a while. The men, not so much.
Unless this is the moment of the pod where we reflect on our own mortality, a vital part of any NFL podcast.
Russell Wilson begged Jadeveon Clowney to return to Seattle on an Instagram live video. Here's the quote. "Clowney, come back. If you're listening, bro, we've got another Super Bowl to win, man. We need you. We need you to come back, Clowney. Clowney, if you can hear me, please come back, bro. I need you, homie." And
it's also pretty big of Russell Wilson to assume that Jadeveon Clowney is watching his Twitch stream, like his Instagram live, rather. So, like, I'm sure there's ways to get him to come home, but I'm not sure this is it.
No.
And I think it's a done deal already. I think the physicals thing is just slowing down all the process for these. And Seattle has the cap room. He's one of the rare pass rushers who's also really effective in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
And, that Seattle defense, I don't think they need to do too much except put a decent defense next to that offense, because they should be pretty good next year.
Yeah.
And like we already talked about, they're our division bet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he ends up back there. Although I saw that the Browns offered him the best deal he's been offered yet. I think it was like $18 million a year, and the Seahawks are only offering him like 16. So we'll see. I mean, he already has a house in Seattle. Just go back to Seattle.
And that could have been our hacker. We don't know it. So.
It could have been the hacker doing that. That's true.
Yeah, if he goes to Cleveland, that could probably be the best pass rush in the league. Like,
yeah,
you're still going to get either Clowney or Garrett matched up against a right tackle, and I expect them to win that matchup more often than not.
Right. Here's some positive news. Aldon Smith is returning to the NFL after like a 3-year hiatus. He's signing with the Cowboys.
Welcome back, Aldon. I know he had just a real nightmare of off-the-field issues, personal issues.
Yeah.
But when he first hit, he was so good.
So good.
So good for those Harbaugh 49ers teams.
Yeah.
And, we've seen situational pass rushers age pretty well.
Yeah.
And, there's another problematic pass rusher who had some personal issues, got run out of San Francisco and found a second life with the Cowboys.
Right.
And that's Charles Haley.
Yeah.
So the template is there. I don't know how he'll be used in the Cowboys defense, but this is absolutely the sort of player and move the Cowboys make. I can't wait to see how it works out.
I'm excited to see if he's 30 years old now, been out of the league 3 years. So I'm excited to see if he still has his stuff. I am just so worried about him though. We've seen this with other players in the past. We've seen it with Josh Gordon for the last 5 years. Will he be able to stay clean when he gets money, when he's in a position of power, when he's put through all this stress of an NFL season? I'm just really worried that he's going to revert back to drinking because of signing this contract.
But as someone who doesn't drink and quit, I like that he's got a couple years under his belt, because we always see Josh Gordon come back as soon as he possibly can.
Right.
And then you're not really standing on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
For him to have 3 years of sobriety under his belt, his body's right, his mind's probably right, and he's gone through that wave of temptations.
Yeah.
And you know what? This guy is a millionaire who's over 6'3". He's got opportunities to act up without being a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. I'm hoping the best for him.
And they did have Travis Frederick retire, but I wonder if this will continue the Cowboys' tradition of being having the most raw talent of any team in the NFL.
Yeah, seriously. And then hopefully now they have a good enough coach to make it work, but probably not.
No.
Here's something scary. The Chiefs' offense is returning 10 of 11 Super Bowl starters. The only person they're missing is their right tackle. And then they're bringing back 4 of their 5 top leading rushers, excluding LaShawn McCoy, 8 of their 9 top leading receivers, excluding LaShawn McCoy, and 6 of their top 7 offensive linemen in terms of snaps, which is excluding, again, their right tackle. And they're bringing back their offensive coordinator, who is good enough to be a head coach.
Eric Bieniemy should have a head coaching job. The work he's done for the past 2 years has been incredible. It's not just that Mahomes is like an otherworldly weapon. It's that everyone's able to step into their specific roles and contribute. Yeah. You don't see sloppiness. You don't see miscues. You don't really see any false starts. And that's the mark of an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And Kansas City's loaded, but I still think it's an arms race between them and Baltimore. Baltimore did have a good free agency, and they might not be stacked on paper like the Chiefs are on offense, but their talent level throughout the roster, I think they're head and shoulders above the rest of the AFC, with a puncher's chance for the Chargers defense to break through.
Yeah. I'm excited about the Chiefs becoming the new dynasty of the NFL, because they're like a likable team. They're not the Patriots. They're not the Cowboys. They're the Chiefs. It's a Midwestern American, salt of the earth. They're in Missouri, which I also like, team that I can get behind. And they're in the AFC, so they're not competition with the Rams.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Andy Reid at the helm of a possible dynasty. He waited so long to get there, so many miscues. And you know what? You've earned it, Andy. Enjoy this moment. And, let's see how you play against Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. Pencil them both in right now.
Yeah, for the next 5 years, probably. Some new uniforms were revealed this week.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, huge.
Well, new is like
so
a pretty big statement for one of them.
Yeah, so the Bucs revealed their new uniforms, which is really just their uniforms from the early to mid 2000s. The uniform they won the Super Bowl in, essentially, which I love. I love those uniforms.
Yeah, and a lot of teams, like your Rams included, they changed their uniforms directly after winning a Super Bowl. That's not the move.
No.
I'm excited to see Tom Brady back in the classic threads.
Yeah.
We know we've talked about it on every podcast. But kids love these uniforms.
They're great.
They sold more merchandise yesterday than they've sold in the past 3 weeks combined, which is probably an empty stat because you knew new uniforms were coming.
Right.
But they look great, and I just wonder how Bruce Arians is going to match the new duds.
Yeah. What kind of a hat is he going to wear?
It'll be a Kangol, 10-1 odds. And I also the very subtle thing they did, they changed the size of their
which is
on the
great. It
helmet.
Was so big last year. I like the that they shrunk it a little bit.
Yeah, so it's they need to get a little bit to emphasize this new chapter with Tom Brady. I think they made the right move.
Yeah.
Give me all the photoshops of Tom in that uniform.
Yeah, right.
Sounds great.
And then the other team that changed uniforms this week was the Atlanta Falcons.
Woof.
Did not love these uniforms at all.
And if you haven't seen these, you'll notice it's pretty similar to what they've had, but they're marked with an ATL on the front of their uniform.
Yes.
Which looks pretty cool, but the track record of teams that put their name across the front isn't great. You've got Cleveland, you've got the New York Jets, and that's not great company to be in.
Yeah. But like to me, and they changed the look of the numbers as well, didn't they?
Yeah, the numbers are a little boxier. They kind of took the numbers that the Buccaneers threw out.
Exactly, which was one of the biggest problems with the Bucs uniforms in the last few years. The Falcons uniforms look like if you're 16 years old and you go on Madden and you create a new team with new uniforms. Like they just look fake.
Yeah, and the thing that really galls me is that they have 8 different uniform combinations.
Yeah.
You only play 16 games. Do you really need 8 potential options? That's ridiculous to me. And I of course blame the Golden State Warriors for this. During their like rise to the top, they had so many different uniforms. At one point, they had 2 different uniforms celebrating the region's Asian American heritage, which is great, but I think 2 different versions of that is a little bit of overkill.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, Arthur Blank owns a team, and I would be fine with the different uniform combinations if one of them was just set up to look like a Home Depot smock to honor Blank's source of wealth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not in love with those uniforms. Matt Ryan loved them, though, so that should tell you everything about how terrible they are.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, he should be the sponsor for Kohl's. I can't imagine him ever wearing a cool outfit.
No. Hard Knocks announced that they will be covering 2 teams this offseason if there is a training camp to cover. They'll be doing the Rams and the Chargers, both
our teams.
Yeah, both of our teams, our 2 favorite teams.
Yeah, our first and third favorite teams.
I'm excited. I mean, the Rams had Hard Knocks just a few years ago when I think it was the year before they fired Jeff Fisher.
And I couldn't find this. Is there gonna be two Hard Knocks? Is there gonna be one Hard Knocks that features two
I
teams?
don't know. I couldn't find that either. I hope it's two separate ones because it
Yeah,
would be kind of cheap if they only gave us half of each.
yeah, and you also there's enough storylines to go in around in Hard Knocks anyway. An NFL training camp has 90 players plus all the coaching staff,
Yeah.
owners, GM. So there's a lot of characters.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand that they're both in the same city. So like you can send crews an hour away from each other and cover both.
And they're all, that same city happens to be Los Angeles, kind of.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it is easy for production base to get there.
Right.
And the most amazing thing Hard Knocks does is they do that turnaround on the edit.
Yep.
So they'll probably have the edit base close at hand. And I thought it was interesting that both teams volunteered for Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's LA. Like they need to make a splash. They like, especially the Chargers, they need fans. So they want to do whatever they can to get their name out there. I get it.
Yeah. And you might, if this works, the NFL desperately needs both these franchises to succeed and get a fan base.
Yeah.
The choice to have two teams in Los Angeles hasn't been a successful one thus far.
Not at all.
And if nothing else, we should think about, if this works, we should think about having them on every season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for just like having every team have a training camp show. Like a lot of teams do this. Like the Panthers do their own, the Browns do their own. They just upload them to YouTube. It's such a cool way for fans to like really learn the players that are on the edge of making the roster, learn about the coaches. It's the best. It's like people who love reality TV can fall in love with football through these shows.
Yeah, but no intern in your local team's like video department can compete with NFL films.
Oh, no, definitely
They're
not.
the best at what they do. And do you have a player or coach you're most excited to see on Hard Knocks?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love Aaron Donald. The last time they did Hard Knocks, Aaron Donald was playing ping pong without a shirt on, and it is like one of the most striking images I've ever seen in my life. That man like is 6'2", 300 pounds, but not an ounce of fat on his whole body. So just seeing Aaron Donald like without a shirt on lifting weights is going to be pretty sick.
Okay, great. And on my end, I'm excited to see Derwin James's Madden habit.
Yeah, right?
To win the finals of the NFL Madden tournament 52-3, there's got to be some real work in there.
Yeah.
And like Sean McVay, I'm sure he's going to come up with a way to be the most private of anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Rams volunteered, but I don't think everyone was on board with the decision.
Right. Yeah.
These coaches must be so pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. But
and I do want to say, if anyone's bored, there's great value in getting old Hard Knocks players on Cameo. I don't know if you remember the Browns season, but you can get tight end Devin Kajust. He was cut.
Yeah, the juice.
And he had a great relationship with his father.
That's right.
You can book him for $20
on Cameo.
On Cameo. And, if he's a little bit for your blood, if you liked that season, you can also get Brogan Roback for $15.
Oh, the fourth string quarterback?
The fourth string quarterback, but the second string St. Louis Battlehawks quarterback.
Yeah, baby. Brogan. What a name. What a crazy name.
Brogan Roback. His business model is not a throwback. Very modern.
All right. Here's something that made me upset. Donald Trump had like a big conference call with all the presidents and the big personnel of all the leagues. He said the NFL season will start on time in September with fans in the stands. Just because, like, the fact that he said that makes me so pessimistic that it's going to happen.
100%. And I don't think the fans in the stands thing will happen.
No.
This is the NFL. It's worth too much money for it not to happen. And, like, we need something to come out of this, don't we?
Yes.
Like, if we have to do podcasts up until the start of the 2021 season, life will truly be hell.
But I have no faith in what he is saying. I'm super hopeful that football will start in September. I just can't imagine they'll pack a stadium full of fans that quickly after a pandemic.
Yeah, and I think the neutral site idea works. I think
Yeah.
empty stadiums work. We'll have enough tests by then. But
I would
who
hope
can
so,
really
yeah.
speculate where this thing is going?
No.
And, if this is a gambling podcast, let's throw futures bets on make the playoffs for all the most affected regions. Go Jets, Giants, Detroit Lions, and then, you're cheering for the public interest story.
Yeah, right. Speaking of coronavirus, it's really hitting the Raiders. Well, they're trying to move, so it's like really impacting their new stadium. It's impacting how they're going to pay for their new stadium.
And, it also took away the draft, so it's hurting them from a public relations standpoint. I mean, the Raiders' launch in Vegas isn't happening. And their stadium might not be done in time, and they might not be able to pay for it because Nevada allocated the funds from a small hotel tax increase.
Oh, wow.
And if those rooms aren't booked, the state of Nevada is going to have to pay out of pocket for a football team when they're going to be among the most affected regions by this.
Yeah, totally. Yikes. So that's just going to be taxpayer dollars paying for that stadium?
Yeah, and this move was so financially motivated by the Raiders. Like most teams, they're acquired by owners after their success in the business.
Right.
We see hedge fund managers buying the Panthers. Like most owners, they are a titan of some industry or another.
Right.
And the Raiders aren't that.
Yeah.
They are a football family. Al Davis loved the team, hated the league, and he started an upstart football team. And the family, they only get money from the Raiders.
Yeah.
They haven't had money to pay Khalil Mack. Mark Davis doesn't have money to get a barber. Clearly that guy cuts his own hair.
That is an atrocity. Yeah, I mean, the other big thing that sucks about this is just how fun it would be to go to Vegas and watch a game and then be able to spend the rest of the day in a sports book betting on other football games. Experience is going to be a blast, and the fact that it's going to be pushed back possibly sucks.
Yeah, I had to refund my trip to the NFL draft. I had to cancel my plane ticket.
Oh yeah, you were going to go this year.
Yeah, I was going to make
sucks.
I had a whole thing written with my fan therapy bros. It was going to be a great time, but they'll make it up to Vegas eventually. But it's going to be a rough go, and hopefully they can feel the season and gain a following because this really has the potential to snowball them.
Yeah, for sure.
When has the NFL last successfully moved a franchise?
Never.
It's been Raiders, Chargers, Rams. All of them kind of should have stayed put.
Yeah.
None of them have really been a triumphant success, and this just continues that line.
Yeah.
Turns out it's hard to move a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Who knew?
Especially one that requires you to have fans. They're just leaving their fans behind. Yeah. Oh boy, I hate when teams move. All right, the NFL released their all-decade team this week, which is nice because it gives us football fans something to look at and be upset about. I was mostly okay with the list. I don't know how you feel about it.
I thought they did a good job. I'll say what I thought they did best and the thing I thought they did the worst job on. The best choice they made was including Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
Both are great quarterbacks, but at his peak, I don't know if anyone touches Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I just vividly remember I was in Vegas. I bet on him in that road game against Dallas in the divisional round. He made one of the greatest throws I've ever seen to seal the game. And he didn't have the infrastructural support that Drew Brees had. Drew Brees always had great weapons. He always had a great coach, even if, I'll deduct some points for contracting coronavirus.
My God.
But, they could have done 3 quarterbacks, but I respect the Stones.
Yeah, it is interesting they only did 2 quarterbacks, and they did 4 offensive tackles.
4 running backs. Who is building this roster? They don't have a long snapper or a punter. People are very upset. I know 2 Lions made it anyway, in Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson.
That's right.
But if they included the long snapper, I think our boy Don Mulbach would have warranted a spot. Hasn't missed a game in 16 years. That's what else do you need from a long snapper?
Wow, that is impressive.
And
They had this weird flex position.
And they gave it to Darren Sproles
which he might be the only person that fits into a flex position.
Yeah, and the guy, we'll tread carefully here because the people funding Props Network, they're very pro Philadelphia Eagles, but he's nothing but a hood ornament. And like, you're going to give him the flex position when you're going to make Tyreek Hill the kick returner.
Yeah, why is Tyreek
a better football player?
Right. Also, Tyreek Hill, I think, has only returned 85 punts in his entire career, and he's on the all-decade punt returner list.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's one of the punt returners.
Yeah, they also have 2 punt returners and 2 kick returners. And also, they made Darren Sproles the other punt returner. If you're going to have the all-decade team, maybe don't put Darren Sproles on twice.
Yeah, he punt returner is where he belongs. That is where he has been the best in his career. This flex category is just like, what are we looking for here? A guy that can do everything? Because he's like the only person who has been a punt returner, been a kick returner, received out of the backfield, and been a gadget running back. Like the closest thing I can think of to being another flex would be Matt Forte, I guess, even though he was a pure running back.
Yeah, and Matt Forte, like my biggest issue with it is probably Frank Gore making the team. I know the revisionist history for Frank Gore is already starting. Like we talked about the Hall of Fame earlier in the show, and people are already putting Frank Gore in there. Can you think of a season where he was a top 5 NFL running back? I can't.
Probably not since he was on the Niners, right?
Yeah, I will say if you guys here can go find a Frank Gore interview, he's one of the great orators of all time.
I do not believe you.
It's wonderful. I could listen to Frank Gore interviews all day and not know what he's saying.
So I was also curious when I saw Frank Gore on the list, but after looking at some stats, I'm okay with it. And here's why. So he's played all 10 years of this decade. He's played pretty much every single game of the entire decade, which is kind of unheard of for anyone in the NFL. He's played 10 years. He has 9,786 rushing yards, so almost 1,000 yards per season, 47 rushing touchdowns, 4.1 yards per attempt, a little over 2,000 receiving yards, and 18 receiving touchdowns. But he has no all-pro selection. So to your point, he was never the best at the position, but he's always been like between number 5 and 15 for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to honor the best running back in the game over the past decade, that's Matt Forte to me. Like, he was very productive for some very underwhelming Bears offenses, and you could pencil him in for 1,700 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
And then he faded out pretty nicely, and he was active basically the entire decade himself.
Yeah. I think he played 8 years of the decade. He stopped in 2018 or 2017 or something. But as a guy who could do everything, he was the most versatile running back of the last 10 years easily. Just the way that he played the position warrants him a spot on the list, I think. But again, they only have 3 running back slots. Even though they have 4 running back slots, even though they have 2 quarterbacks and 2 kick returners and 2 punt returners.
Yeah, so they're coached by Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll. So I really wonder what they're going to run on the 1-yard line. That'll be fun in practice for sure. Who do you think the worst player is on the all-decade team?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me look through here. It really might be. Well, I haven't heard of Jari Evans in a long time. The offensive guard and offensive tackle thing is like, yeah, I understand you want to include them because they are so important, but who really cares?
I don't know. I personally thought Marshall Yanda, it was nice to see him get that recognition.
Unanimous, too.
Yeah, Marshall Yanda is wonderful. Steve, I know we just started this podcast. We're going to give you an appreciation of guard play. When the next all-decade team comes through, you are going to have
hard and steadfast opinions on the guards they select.
Okay.
Jerry Evans, he was key to those Breeze teams, so they're putting him on, but they're leaving Drew at home.
Yeah, that is true. I guess they know who really was the important one in that offense for all those years.
I just thought you knew it was going to happen. The NFL announces they'll have an extra playoff game and partner with Nickelodeon. Who do they put on the all-decade team? Alex Mack, of course.
I don't know if there is a really bad player on this list, obviously. I think one that is overvalued, the fact that J.J. Watt was unanimous is kind of upsetting to me. Like, he was dominant for a few years. He's been injured for the last 4 years, it seems like.
Yeah, and defensive end been a loaded position.
Yeah.
I think some of the defensive backs, I think probably I'd replace Chris Harris for Aqib Talib.
I like that. So here, yeah. I did a lot of research on running backs because that was the position I was like, there could be some different players here. Here's probably a very unpopular choice that I think could be in the running for all-decade running back is DeMarco Murray.
Oh, sure. But you know what? The way this career panned out, getting that big contract in Philadelphia really hurt him.
It did. But he, in terms of numbers, though, he stacks up just as well as Frank Gore, just as well as LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, but there's no way he was the best Cowboy running back of the past decade. Like,
that's
no
true.
one will argue him over Zeke Elliott. And someone who I really think got snubbed was Jamal Charles.
Yeah, so I did a little research on him as well. He played for 9 years, although the last couple of years were, he wasn't really a featured back. He had 6,000 yards, 37 touchdowns. The thing that always stands out with Jamal Charles is his yards per attempt, which in the last 10 years was 5.3 yards per attempt, which is insane. And that includes the last couple of years where he wasn't being used the right way.
Yeah, and, sorry in advance, but if he knew how to behave himself in elevators, Ray Rice would likely be on this team.
Yeah.
And, there's also just a convenience of a lot of guys flamed out.
Yeah.
Just a little, they're on the line a little bit wrong. Like Chris Johnson, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Right.
They just fall a little bit too early. Steven Jackson, kind of the same way.
Yep. Just weird timing. Same with Andre Johnson at wide receiver. He could have been on this list if he would have started his career 3 years later. Yeah.
Sorry, Andre. You're just going to have to go back to the old decade.
But I was excited to see Calvin on there. It feels like he's been retired forever, but when did he retire? Like 2016, 2015?
Yeah. I think it was after the 2016 season. My Lions sources let me know it early, and it's nice to see him on there.
Yeah.
Although I will say a lot of people disagree with me on this. I will go this to my grave. Golden Tate did his win as Calvin Johnson did. Like,
you say Golden Tate did as well as Calvin Johnson
did as much to help the Lions win. Like,
wow.
Lions are such a short-sighted franchise. The worst thing you can do in the NFL offense, in my opinion, is build around a stud receiver. Mm-hmm. And Calvin put up great stats. He was really fun to watch, but their offense was just so unbalanced. And it's partially due to Javid Best not being able to play ever.
Yeah.
Or any other running back being able to stay on the field.
Yeah.
But it just seems like they had strategic limitations. Like, he set the receiving yardage record in a pretty bad season.
Yeah.
So I think the Lions were just so in love with him that it kind of blinded the franchise.
That's true. Yeah.
But congratulations, Calvin. I don't want to shit on you.
He's the best. He was so fun to watch. Just a total freak. All right.
And did you see, just to mention another MVP guy on this list, did you see Rob Gronkowski host the empty WrestleMania?
I didn't watch. Did you watch?
I did watch. It took me 4 days to get through it, but I did watch the entire thing. It was slow. It was pandering, and he did win the 24/7 title. He jumped off a broadcast booth, But
what does that mean? He ended up wrestling. He wasn't just the host.
Yeah, they have a belt where you're just always wrestling. So, like, it's the 24/7 title. People get pinned on planes. People get pinned in their hotel rooms. It's really a fun storyline. It's one of the best things they've done. And Rob Gronkowski is your current champion. The best thing, though, of that whole broadcast is watching Rob Gronkowski read off a teleprompter.
Just a lot of focus.
Yeah, I think it was his tribute to Frank Gore, actually.
Man, I can't wait to see Gronkowski's second act as a wrestler.
It's going to be great. One of his best friends is already in there, so sign me up.
Jesus.
Should we get out of here with our MVP of the week?
Yeah, let's give some MVPs of the week. I'll give mine. Not as impressive as last week when we talked about Drew Brees donating $5 million, but the Jets general manager Joe Douglas has been tipping $100 every time he goes and gets takeout food.
And unlike Rex Ryan, that's probably not 15% when he orders takeout. So props to you, Joe. That's an awesome gesture. And he didn't put that out there. People came out and they spread that about him.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything about him before. Now I like him.
Yeah, no, my MVP of the week, I'm going to go with Des Bryant. He's violating stay-at-home orders to train with Dak Prescott. And, that's the kind of dedication you need to get back in the league.
Right. And that's the kind of role model these kids need to see.
In social distancing, I feel like you can throw a football. They're wearing gloves anyway. It's fine. So, yeah, look for him to be when Michael Gallup goes down, you know who they're calling.
They're calling Dez.
Yeah.
He'll be incubated, but he'll be able to play.
Yeah, he's putting in the work. If we see an NFL season, we'll see Des Bryant as a part of it, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, we got to get out of here. That's our time. But again, Twitter. We're on Twitter. We have 7 followers. The goal for next week is for us to have 10 followers. If you can make that happen, please find us at Pilot On Podcast and give us a follow. Also, subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts. The more subscribers we have, the more visible we will become. Joel, any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'm the Walkowski on Twitter, Joel Walkowski on Instagram, and this is part of the Props Network. My game show, In Action, should be dropping in the next couple days.
On YouTube?
On the Props Network, on YouTube, on our Instagram. Basically, everyone's bored, so we created a game show over Zoom. We make the games directly for the person participating. Awesome. So we'll have Rob Hayes on, and we're going to do a lot of fun LA Laker activities.
That's fantastic. That sounds great.
Yeah, should be out by Friday.
Cool. So if you are craving sports content, stay here at the Props Network.
Yeah, it's funny. I put a lot of work into it. I think anyone listening will enjoy that. We obviously have the comedic element here, but, it's there as well.
Heck yeah. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Start covering the NFL draft, which is a couple weeks away. So tune in, and we'll see you guys then. See you later.
Tune in.